Thanks to my Ko-fi supporters that make these videos possible. You can also get a deck review on my weekly Tuesday and Sunday streams. It's the best way to support the channel.
YouTubers, if my comments are to be believed, definitely one of the most malicious forces afflicting our beautiful utopia we live in. First they tell you one thing, then bam, they tell you the exact opposite thing. What the hell are these mind games? And they present their opinions with such egotistical certainty, like their opinion is fact. Enough is enough. Alright, that was definitely a dramatization of criticism I've heard, but I'm a little theater kid, so I can't help it. Another horrible thing about these YouTubers is they also do ad reads, like this one right now for Void Monster. Voidmonster.org is an online shop started by friend of the channel, MTG artist Forrest Amell. Every month there's a new release of exclusive trading card game inspired accessories and apparel, with each of those new drops having a week-long pre-order period. The latest drop is the Live and Learn drop and includes both a deck box and a playmat. If you get both items, you also receive a token card as a bonus. Pre-orders end on January 18th at 12 p.m. PST, so there's only a limited time to pick one of these up. There's a link in the video description. If you want to use it, it helps the channel out a lot. Thank you so much, Void Monster, for sponsoring this video. In this video, I kind of want to peel back the veil of EDH YouTube a little bit. Talk about your least favorite creators, maybe me included, and also give some context to better help understand deck building advice you may hear along the way. I think a really good place to start is the hypocrite angle. Like, why is Snail telling me to run more removal, and then now he's saying I run too much? Well, it's because while run more removal and run less removal might sound like opposites, they actually really aren't given context, which sounds a lot like 2 + 2 = 5, Big Brother doublespeak, but please bear with me here. Magic the Gathering is a game with infinite nuance. It's why we can make so many damn videos about it. And that nuance is able to be captured in part by the points we make, but it can never be enveloped in whole. When I spout on the Unscripted podcast that I'm on that Phyrexian Arena sucks, that generalization is broadly true. For me, at my bracket 3 tables and at convention games, where I'm not running synergy pieces like solitary confinement for it, right? That's a lot of writers on that general statement that just don't fit well in a podcast where I share the floor with 2 other co-hosts. I literally turned that 3-word sentence, Phyrexian Arena sucks, into a 14-minute long video, by the by. So yes, Snail tells you to run more removal, but also advised against removal, and he gave good context for why sometimes you shouldn't be on too much removal in that video. I did mention something important there too, that all of us have vastly different play experiences, or at least marginally different play experiences. Commander has competitive players that want to break the format, more lighthearted casual players that play weaker decks either by choice or because they just play once every other week with their slightly modified precon, and turbo-obsessed synergy nerds like me who want to play with cards that are bad in other formats like Brazella or Aeon Engine or Farrakha and try to make them the star of a deck that can actually convincingly win the game. Commander is a good home for all 3 of these player archetypes, and while it may not have been built with the intention of housing all of them, it does it very well. And there are more of these genres of player for certain, but the point is that they will react differently to the same piece of information. Phyrexian Arena is garbage will not ring true to all players of a lower bracket like mentioned earlier, since their games will go longer, or they embrace its aging nature and play it because it's nostalgic. Based, by the way. But a more competitive player, where turn 5 to 7 wins is a grindy game of Magic, would be more inclined to agree. Then the more pushing a card to its limit folks will probably look at the criticism of this card generally doesn't work well as a staple, and then try to break it in some creative way. This can get even more nuanced than this broad player archetype brush I'm painting with, by the way. Like, yes, knowing what camp you fit in can help you digest and use information you hear better, or maybe it helps you understand that the information you are hearing isn't applicable to you. But we can get more specific here. Like, I know people who think Thraben Charm is a bad removal spell. Here's the thing. My average deck has like 30 creatures, sometimes nearing 50. It was so good, I cut Generous Gift for it in one of my decks. This thing always kills a creature when I use it, and I don't miss out on destroying lands or planeswalkers because I don't really encounter those in my meta. In fact, there are a significantly large number of graveyard decks here in Denver for some reason, so that graveyard exile mode is probably the second best thing on the card, and it makes it way better than the extra versatility that would be found on a generous gift for me. Now, your favorite deck that is struggling with removal, the one you clicked on top 5 removal spells in Commander, or whatever, for, might be running 3 creatures in it, and you may have never seen your regular opponents in your meta ever touch their graveyard before. So when I say something like, I cut Generous Gift for Thraben Charm, it's so good, I look like a stupid clown. Anyway, it's time to talk about why us creators, myself especially, make these pretty blunt statements. Firstly, I hate feeling like I'm demeaning you all by saying something like, in my opinion, every sentence. Or, I find that regularly in my decks not running synergy, this card is bad, therefore not a staple. The bar of subjectivity of this casual format is a lot lower than any other format because of its large casual population. It's a format where I don't like the card or I like the card are valid enough reasons to make inclusions or cuts versus more competitive 60 card formats. We are playing this format, mostly, to do wacky things. And while yes, some fun things can come from winning, of course, it's kind of the goal of the game, for some people they can lose every game of Commander during game night, and so long as they did some things, they can go home feeling like they didn't waste their weekend. That's beautiful. I love this about the format, that you can find a home for just about any card you want, and have it do something. Because of this, subjectivity is kind of implied with a lot of points that Commander YouTubers make, and it's up to you to decide if that subjective opinion is worthwhile information for your decks or not. Also, these strong opinions just make for more entertaining and thought-provoking videos. Think about Snail's shorts about what is card draw. He was going over a ton of different examples, like divination is card draw, sure. But what about Farrakha's activated ability? Is that card draw? Which, like, sure, that's advantage, which is parallel to card draw, so I can see his point. But then he hit the feed with, is Mistcutter Hydra card draw? Which, like, yeah, it always spends your mana, but card draw? There were, of course, a decent number of angry comments, and he admits himself that Mistcutter Hydra was less of a point he believes in and more of a point for the sake of making a conversation. Also, the Commander creation sphere is a very saturated market that is hard to bust into without something that is striking. Why would someone watch your video over someone else's who's doing the same exact thing? Everyone kind of gets flanderized into their brand. Trinket Mage is the prototypical goofball Johnny player that likes to poke at format norms. Snail brings a philosophy major dropout vibe to the table. Quips and Guac is a class clown. Mauled is a funny crash out factory. Joey Schultz is your wholesome format dad. Rachel Weeks is actually intelligent. And I'm the histrionic furry. Like, if we didn't lean into the internet perception of ourselves, regardless of the intrigue of our points, no one would click on our videos. Sadly, no matter how much we don't want it to be true, people will more often click on Phyrexian Arena sucks and here's why, more than Phyrexian Arena used to be a staple, but now it's only fringe playable at bracket 3 if you build your deck around it or have a deck that can use it very well, but then that's not a very good case for it because that's just about true for every other card. I mean, you can't fit that at all into your video title or even thumbnail anyway, but you can fit it into a script. That's the whole point, really. Just about everyone I work with regularly uses exaggerated thumbnail, titles, and whatever into a more nuanced script that actually conveys the topic at hand that they wish to see discussed. You need something that cuts through, you see. All of this, of course, gets exacerbated by podcasting or other unscripted content like streams. When you can't write out your thoughts ahead of time, of course your points are going to be more messy and less refined. A perfect example of this literally just happened during the Magic Mirror podcast. Well, not like literally recently for you watching this, but still. Magic Mirror episode 65, ranking the mechanics we want to see return. I state in this podcast that I like cumulative upkeep designs like Braid of Fire or Psychic Vortex or Sheltering Ancient, but I don't like ones like Mystic Remora where it's a powerful permanent that stays in play, but it costs mana as a downside to keep around. Generally, I see it as playing less Magic. Think of Buyback, for instance. I'm going to do the same thing every turn is not a fun play pattern for a card to have generally. You're not developing more. And yes, that's the downside, sure, But the way this flavor of downside exists is unfun for the game. So that's what I said. I also mentioned that newer designs are triggering not during your upkeep, but during your first main phase, so you see what you draw, something like Ripples of Undeath. I mean, what I'm saying here right now is better spoken than how it dribbled out of my mouth on the podcast. You can go watch it. It's around 4 minutes in when I say all this stuff. I'm not here trying to lie to you by not grabbing quotes. It's just because I'm lazy. What I said is on the internet for you to view. But that's beside the point. The takeaway is that a lot of people had in the comments said, after hearing me say this, wow, 3/3 Elk just hates when cards have drawbacks, huh? And the answer is no, I don't. I love drawbacks when they're well designed and fun to interact with. I love deck building around a card like Nikki of the Old Ways, or Rotting Regisaur, or Moderation. But cumulative upkeep is clunky in the way that it goes about creating downside. That's all I meant to say, and yet still that simple idea got lost in translation because people have different lenses on the same words. Through no fault of the commenters, might I add. Misunderstanding like this is very easy, especially when it comes to trying to understand me while unscripted. Anyways, I hope this video helped you better realize ways of absorbing deck building advice you find online, or maybe understand why my video thumbnails are always so grumpy. Honestly too, it's just fun to talk in a meta sense about the rhetoric and communication that is done in this video essay style video. Communicating to a large group of people will mean it will get to a lot of people who could use that advice really well. It'll also get to some who can't use it well at all, and it'll also get to people who think that what you're saying is the most vile and evil thing in the world and you should explode. It's all a matter of perspective. Subjectivity is implied, all that stuff. Until next time, bye.